John, bills addressing local control dominated much of the session this time around. What issues saw the biggest encroachment when it comes to local control?
Yeah, absolutely, Josh. I mean, first you have to think about defunding the police, right? And that all dates back to last year when the Austin City Council voted to immediately cut $20 million from its police budget and move $130 million in services outside of police control, saying that that can be better done by civilians and doesn't need to be done by a licensed officer. And in the immediate aftermath of that vote, Republican leadership came out with as many mechanisms as they could come up with to try to stop cities from taking actions like the city of Austin did. And we saw a number of proposals come out of this session. Multiple have passed through the legislature. And what's interesting about these bills is that they're written in a way that they only impact the largest cities and counties in Texas, which we know are run by Democrats. And this all done with the blessing of Governor Greg Abbott.
John, on another topic, we saw a lot of the larger cities here in Texas struggle with increasing homeless encampments, especially here in Austin. Lawmakers passed a statewide camping ban. How does that impact the ability of cities to approach homelessness?
Well, the authors of that statewide camping ban had said that this wouldn't impact plans that were already in place in cities and that it should be looked at as a baseline approach to have a uniform set of rules across the state and that cities and counties could go a step further. But look, I mean, this is all, again, in response to the city of Austin, which had a homeless camping population here that continued to grow and was a very visible problem in the city. And these lawmakers, when they come from their communities in each part of Texas, they come here to Austin. They drive past those tent encampments. They see that on their way to the Capitol. And so this action, whether it related to their communities or not, does create a very significant baseline for how cities can approach homelessness. Now, those authors say it wouldn't change how a city approaches the issue, but it would, because now cities and counties that would want to do sanctioned campsites, designated areas where the homeless could go for either services or just a place to sleep, those would need state approval before a city or county could move forward with them. So there is state intervention here. It is not simply saying that, cities can develop their plans. They'll have to get a sign off from the state.
We saw a lot of highly controversial legislation make it through the session this time around. Republican efforts to strengthen voting rules and essentially an all-out ban on abortions in the state. What do we expect of the overall political implications of this session, John?
Well, Josh, you know the phrase, elections have consequences, and it's cliche, but it's true. And in Texas, the most important elections, at least to date, are primary elections. So a lot of these conservative, ideologic pieces of legislation, those do pander to a conservative primary voting base, which is further to the right than your election day or early voting audience in a general election. So to think that this will have backlash, there's always a possibility of that. After the quote-unquote bathroom bill in 2017, you did see some changes in the balance of power in the state house, with Democrats picking up seats in response to that legislation in part. But this is what the primary voter on the Republican side of the ticket is looking for. So we expect this to help races, especially those down ballot ones.
As soon as this session ends, presumably campaign season kicks right off. How do you think this legislative session and all that's happened during it is going to affect those races in 2022, John?
Yeah, and looking at 2022, Governor Greg Abbott is an incredibly strong and well-funded candidate to continue leading the Republican Party, and the tailwind from that would be to help those down ballot races that we were talking about. But 2022 needs to be looked at as a primer for 24. And this legislative session is a piece of that. Governor Greg Abbott, if he still has those rumored ambitions for the White House in 24, will use these very conservative pieces of legislation as a way to market himself to the GOP primary voter. And like we said, primary elections are very important in Texas. They're still important to the party nationwide. And take a look at what the state of Florida has done. Governor Ron DeSantis there, seen by many as the potential front runner for a GOP primary ticket in 24, their legislative session looked a whole lot like Texas's legislative session so far. So when you make those comparisons and you look how this plays into the greater political conversation, This is material that Governor Greg Abbott can use to show a nationwide GOP primary voter that he's with them.
All right, KXAN's politics reporter John Engel, thank you for being here yet again, and great job for all the work you've done. I know that there's a few more days left, so I know that exemplary work will continue after that too. Thank you again.
Almost there.
Yes,
Thanks,
we
Will.
are.